Have you ever felt like your mind is tangled in a web of worries, pulled in different directions by responsibilities, expectations, and the endless noise of modern life? The days rush past in a blur, and instead of feeling accomplished, you're left exhausted, uncertain, and searching for clarity. Maybe you're facing difficult choices, anxious about the future, or simply overwhelmed by the relentless demands of daily existence. But what if I told you that in just 30 days, you could reclaim your peace of mind and rediscover a sense of purpose? This journey isn't about distant philosophies or abstract theories. It's about a practical way of living, inspired by the wisdom of great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. These were individuals who faced adversity, chaos, and uncertainty with an unwavering sense of composure and inner strength. And now, their timeless wisdom is here for you to apply in your own life. Throughout this journey, you'll discover powerful insights and techniques from the philosophy of Stoicism, adapted for modern life. These aren't just intellectual ideas, but practical tools that can help you not only endure challenges, but embrace them, turning them into opportunities for growth and fulfillment. Every lesson is designed to help you cultivate mental clarity, resilience, and confidence, so that by the end of these 30 days, you'll feel more in control of your mind and your life. Imagine this. You're faced with a frustrating situation, an unexpected email from your boss unfairly blaming you for a mistake, a sharp comment from a loved one, or even something as simple as being cut off in traffic. In these moments, our instinct is to react immediately, letting emotions dictate our actions. Frustration, anger, defensiveness, they take over before we even have a chance to think. But what if you could pause, just for a second? What if, instead of letting emotions control you, you created a small space between what happens to you and how you respond? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That space, the pause, is where true wisdom and self-control reside. Think about the last time you reacted impulsively to something and later regretted it. Maybe it was a heated argument where you said something you wish you could take back. Or perhaps it was a decision made in frustration, one that didn't serve your long-term interests. Now imagine if you had taken just one deep breath before responding. That simple act, that tiny moment of self-awareness, could have changed everything. You can start practicing this right now with something called the 5-second rule. The next time you're about to react out of frustration, pause. Take a deep breath and count down from 5, 5, 4 dots, 3 dots, 2, 1. That brief moment disrupts your automatic reaction, giving you the power to choose a response that aligns with your values instead of your fleeting emotions. For more significant decisions, try the 24-hour rule. Say you're offered a tempting job opportunity that seems perfect on the surface. Your instinct might be to accept it immediately, driven by excitement or fear of missing out. But instead of rushing, take a full day to think it over. Sleep on it. Talk to people you trust. When the initial emotions settle, you'll see the situation with greater clarity and make a decision that truly aligns with your long-term vision. These small pauses, practiced consistently, become a habit. You'll find yourself reacting less and responding more. You'll navigate conflicts with greater composure, make wiser choices, and feel a deeper sense of control over your emotions. But pausing is just the beginning. To truly master yourself, you must learn to understand and guide your emotions rather than letting them dictate your actions. Stoicism teaches that our emotions don't arise from the events themselves, but from the way we interpret them. Epictetus put it simply, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." Think about this. If a stranger rudely bumps into you on the street, your immediate reaction might be irritation. But if you knew they were rushing to the hospital to see a loved one, would your anger vanish? The event didn't change, but your perception of it did. The first step to mastering your emotions is naming them. The next time you feel anger, frustration, or anxiety, pause and acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I am feeling angry. I am feeling anxious. This simple act creates distance between you and the emotion, allowing you to observe it without being consumed by it. Your emotions are like passing clouds. They are not you. They come and go, but you remain. Once you recognize this, you can begin to guide them instead of being ruled by them. Now imagine you're in traffic, running late, and the frustration starts to bubble up. Instead of letting it consume you, you pause and ask yourself, is this frustration helping me get there faster, or is it only making me more tense? As you reflect, you realize that the traffic is beyond your control, but your reaction isn't. You take a deep breath, let the frustration go, and suddenly the situation doesn't seem so unbearable. Or picture receiving harsh criticism from your boss. Your first instinct might be to get defensive or feel disheartened, but instead of reacting impulsively, you pause and ask, what is this emotion telling me? What can I learn from this feedback? By shifting your mindset, criticism transforms from an attack into an opportunity for growth. This practice isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them so they serve you rather than control you. With time, you'll find that your emotional resilience grows stronger, and situations that once triggered frustration or fear no longer have the same hold over you. Each day, challenge yourself to take control of your reactions. When confronted with stress, anger, or uncertainty, pause, breathe. Observe your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. In doing so, you'll not only strengthen your mental clarity, but also unlock a sense of freedom that few people ever achieve. The freedom to be the master of your own mind. Once you begin to master your emotions, something profound starts to happen. You create space for reason, the ability to think clearly, to make wise choices, and to act in alignment with your true values. If emotions are like a raging river, powerful and unpredictable, then reason is the sturdy bridge that allows you to cross safely without being swept away. This is the foundation of a resilient mind. Stoicism doesn't teach us to suppress emotions, but to guide them with wisdom. That means learning to think things through logically, even in moments of stress or uncertainty. Imagine a time when you had to make an important decision, perhaps a career move, a financial choice, or even something as personal as ending or continuing a relationship. The emotions tied to these decisions can be overwhelming. Fear of making the wrong choice, excitement about the possibilities, anxiety about the unknown. It all mixes together, making it hard to see clearly. This is why the Stoics taught the importance of rational reflection. A simple but powerful technique is the classic pros and cons list. It may seem basic, but the act of writing things down forces clarity. When everything is swirling in your mind, it's easy to be overwhelmed, but when you lay it out on paper, you see reality as it is, not as your emotions make it seem. Imagine you're considering a job offer in another city. The excitement of new possibilities pulls you in one direction, but the fear of leaving your current life behind tugs you in another. Instead of making a rushed decision, you sit down and write. What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? What truly matters to you in the long run? The process itself brings insight because it forces you to confront not just what you feel, but what is real. Sometimes, however, a simple pros and cons list isn't enough. That's where another Stoic practice comes in, premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. This doesn't mean dwelling on the worst-case scenario in a pessimistic way, but rather preparing your mind for it. If you're worried about failure, take a moment to truly visualize what failure would look like. What's the worst that could happen? Would you lose money? Would you face rejection? Would you be embarrassed? Now ask yourself, if the worst did happen, could you survive it? Could you recover? The answer is almost always yes. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." The moment you face your fears, they lose their power over you. When you prepare your mind for the possibility of failure, you stop fearing it, and that frees you to take bold, decisive action. Imagine an entrepreneur pouring everything into a new business. The fear of failure is always lurking in the background. What if it doesn't work? What if all the money is lost? What if people judge them? But instead of being paralyzed by fear, they sit down and deliberately consider these questions. If the business fails, will it truly be the end? Or will there still be lessons to learn, new doors to open, and another chance to start again? When you face your fears head-on, they shrink in size, and suddenly, the unknown doesn't seem so daunting. This ability to think rationally also protects you from making impulsive mistakes. Imagine getting into a heated argument with someone. Your emotions flare up, and you feel the urge to say something sharp, something hurtful. But before speaking, you pause and ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this aligned with my values? More often than not, the answer is no. And just like that, you prevent yourself from making a mistake that could damage a relationship. Thinking with reason isn't just about making better decisions, it's about gaining clarity in every aspect of life. When reason guides you, confusion fades. You begin to see things as they are, rather than how emotions distort them. And as this mental clarity grows, you start noticing something else, hidden biases that may have been influencing you without your awareness. Biases are the invisible traps of the mind. They shape our thinking, often without us realizing it, leading us to make irrational decisions or cling to beliefs simply because they feel comfortable. The Stoics were relentless in their pursuit of truth, which meant constantly questioning their own assumptions. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth which never harmed anyone." Imagine someone who invests all their savings into a high-risk business venture. They want it to succeed so badly that they ignore the warning signs. They dismiss concerns from others. They only pay attention to positive reports, and they convince themselves that failure is impossible. But in the end, they lose everything. Not because the business was doomed to fail, but because they refused to see the full picture. How do we break free from biases like this? One way is to actively seek out opposing perspectives. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. If you're deeply convinced of something, challenge yourself to read an argument from the other side. If you're making a major decision, ask a trusted friend to play devil's advocate. Instead of dismissing differing opinions, try to understand them. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Growth happens when we step outside our own assumptions. Think about a time when you held onto a belief or an opinion so tightly that you couldn't even entertain another perspective. Did it serve you, or did it limit you? The truth is, we all have blind spots. But by practicing intellectual humility, by being willing to change our minds when presented with better reasoning, we set ourselves free from self-deception. This practice isn't just about avoiding bad decisions, it's about finding peace of mind. When you free yourself from rigid thinking and open your mind to the truth, anxiety fades. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself right all the time. You become more flexible, more adaptable, and more at peace with uncertainty. Now, take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you questioned one of your deeply held beliefs? When was the last time you truly listened to an opposing viewpoint without feeling defensive? If you can embrace this practice for the next 30 days, you'll notice a profound shift in the way you think, the way you make decisions, and the way you engage with the world. But rational thinking alone isn't enough. To truly cultivate wisdom, we must also learn to see life from a broader perspective. Imagine yourself standing atop a mountain, looking down at the world below. From up here, the city looks small, the people like tiny moving dots, the daily struggles insignificant in the grand scale of the universe. This is what the Stoics called the view from above, a practice that reminds us how vast and interconnected everything truly is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life." From this higher perspective, the little frustrations that once seemed overwhelming begin to lose their grip on you. The angry email, the missed deadline, the petty argument, none of it matters as much as we think it does. Picture yourself receiving harsh criticism. Instead of reacting emotionally, you take a step back and ask, will this matter a year from now? 5 years from now? The answer is usually no. And in that realization, you find peace. This perspective can also help us cultivate empathy. When someone behaves rudely or unfairly, instead of immediately reacting with anger, step into their shoes. Ask yourself, what might they be going through? Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." By taking a moment to consider another person's struggles, you create space for understanding and patience. As you move through the next 30 days, challenge yourself to practice the view from above. When something upsets you, zoom out. When a problem feels overwhelming, remind yourself of the bigger picture. The world is vast, time is fleeting, and most of what troubles us is temporary. True strength lies not in controlling everything, but in seeing things as they truly are. When you learn to do this, you will experience a calmness that few people ever reach, a peace that comes from understanding what truly matters. The more you begin to see life from a higher perspective, the more you start to notice something. Much of what troubles you, much of what steals your peace of mind, is entirely out of your control. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that suffering often comes not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them, from the way we desperately cling to expectations, trying to force life to conform to our desires. But what if, instead of resisting, we learned to accept? Imagine this. You spend weeks preparing for an important presentation at work. You double-check every detail. You rehearse your speech. You anticipate every possible question. But on the day of the meeting, the power goes out. The projector fails. Half the attendees don't even show up. Everything you planned for falls apart. At that moment, you have 2 choices. You can resist reality, get frustrated, blame external circumstances, and allow stress to consume you. Or you can accept what is, adapt, and move forward with calmness and clarity. Epictetus put it simply, some things are up to us, and some things are not. Understanding this is one of the greatest keys to inner peace. Think of all the things you've worried about in the past week. How many of them were truly within your control? The traffic that made you late, the behavior of others, the unexpected challenges that appeared out of nowhere. These were never yours to command. Yet, how often do we let them dictate our mood, our actions, and our sense of well-being? This is where the Stoic practice of amor fati, the love of fate, comes into play. It is not merely about tolerating what happens, but embracing it as necessary, even valuable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." Imagine receiving bad news. A project you were excited about gets cancelled, a plan falls apart, an opportunity you had high hopes for slips away. Instead of dwelling in disappointment, you shift your perspective. You remind yourself, this too is part of the journey. You ask, how can I use this to grow? What new doors does this open? When you begin to welcome life as it unfolds, without resistance, without wishing it were different, you unlock a sense of freedom. You are no longer shackled by frustration over what you cannot change. You move with life rather than against it. This mindset doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you don't work hard or strive for change. It simply means that once you've done all that is within your power, you release the outcome. You trust that whatever happens is exactly as it should be. Now take a moment to reflect. What's something in your life right now that you're resisting? A situation that isn't going the way you want? What would change if, instead of fighting it, you accepted it fully? If you trusted that even this moment, however challenging, was part of your path? As you learn to accept what you cannot control, another realization follows. The only thing you truly have power over is yourself, your thoughts, your actions, your character. And this is where the next crucial lesson of Stoicism comes in: living by your core values. Every day we are faced with choices, big and small. Some are obvious, while others are subtle, barely noticeable in the moment. But each one shapes who we become. The question is, are you making choices that align with the person you truly want to be? Imagine you're offered an opportunity that seems incredible on the surface. A high-paying job, a lucrative deal, a shortcut to success. But deep down, you feel uneasy. Maybe it requires compromising your integrity, betraying a promise, or going against something you hold dear. The temptation is strong, the pressure immense. In that moment, what will guide you? Marcus Aurelius had a simple rule: if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The power of this rule is that it simplifies even the most difficult decisions. No matter the reward, no matter the consequences, if something violates your core values, it is not worth it. Living by your values isn't always easy. It means making hard choices. It means walking away from things that don't serve your highest self, even when they seem appealing. It means being willing to disappoint others in order to remain true to yourself. Consider a time in your life when you compromised a value, maybe to fit in, maybe to avoid conflict, maybe because it seemed like the easier path. How did it feel afterward? And now, think of a time when you stood firm, when you upheld your principles even when it was difficult. Which decision brought you true peace? Stoicism teaches that the greatest wealth is not money or status. It is integrity. The greatest success is living in a way that, when you look back on your life, you can do so with pride. Each morning before you step into the world, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? What values do I refuse to compromise, no matter what challenges come my way? And at night, take a moment to reflect. Did I live true to those values today? Where did I falter? Where can I do better? As you commit to living in alignment with your values, you'll notice something remarkable. Decisions become easier. The inner turmoil that once plagued you, the overthinking, the regret, the second-guessing, begins to fade. Because when you know what you stand for, you no longer feel lost. And yet, even with strong values and a rational mind, even with the ability to pause before reacting and the wisdom to embrace what is, there will still be times of doubt. There will still be moments when you feel unsure, when you don't know what the right path is. This is why Stoicism teaches the importance of seeking wisdom from others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, did not rely solely on his own judgment. He constantly sought the counsel of trusted advisors, reflecting on their words and using their insights to sharpen his own thinking. "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change," he wrote, "for I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." This is the mark of a wise person, not thinking you have all the answers, but being humble enough to learn from others. Imagine you're facing a tough decision, one that feels too big to navigate alone. Instead of struggling in isolation, you turn to someone whose wisdom you trust. Maybe it's a mentor, a friend, a family member. Maybe it's even the words of a great thinker from history. By opening yourself to guidance, you see things from a new angle. You gain perspective that wasn't visible before. And often, the answer that once felt impossible to find suddenly becomes clear. But seeking wisdom isn't just about asking for advice. It's about learning to listen, truly listen, not just to agree or disagree, but to understand. When was the last time you listened to someone with the intention of learning, rather than simply waiting for your turn to speak? What might you have missed in that conversation? If you can cultivate the habit of listening deeply, of asking thoughtful questions, of learning from those who have walked the path before you, you will find that your own wisdom grows. Your decisions become sharper, your mind becomes clearer. And with that clarity comes an even greater realization, one that will change the way you approach not just the next 30 days, but the rest of your life. As you walk this path, reflecting on wisdom from others and staying true to your values, another powerful lesson emerges: learning from your own past. The Stoics understood that experience is life's greatest teacher, but only if we take the time to reflect. Think about your own life. How often do you pause to examine your actions, your choices, and the lessons hidden in your past mistakes? Too often we rush forward, carrying regret, but never stopping to extract wisdom from what has already happened. But what if, instead of seeing the past as something to escape, you saw it as a well of insight? Marcus Aurelius urged, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good." Every experience, good or bad, has shaped you into who you are today. The wrong turns, the failures, the disappointments, they all contain valuable lessons if you're willing to look. Imagine a time you made a decision you later regretted. Maybe you spoke out of anger, acted on impulse, or let fear stop you from seizing an opportunity. Instead of burying that moment, bring it into the light. Ask yourself, what could I have done differently? What did this moment teach me? The lesson is always there, waiting to be found. A simple yet powerful practice is to spend a few moments each evening reflecting on your day. Ask yourself 3 things. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What lesson will I carry forward? These small moments of reflection compound over time, turning past mistakes into stepping stones for future wisdom. But looking back isn't about dwelling on regrets. It's about learning and letting go. The past cannot be changed, but its lessons can shape your future. The more you embrace this practice, the more you free yourself from repeating old patterns. And as you grow from these lessons, something else becomes clear. Uncertainty will always be part of life. The future remains unknown, unpredictable. Yet, instead of fearing it, what if you found comfort in it? What if you embraced uncertainty as part of the adventure? This is where true peace begins, not in controlling the future, but in learning to trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. When you learn to reflect on your past without regret and embrace uncertainty without fear, you step into a new kind of freedom. This is the ultimate lesson of Stoicism: not to control life, but to control how you respond to it. Because in the end, no amount of planning, worrying, or resisting will make life unfold exactly as you want. It never has, and it never will. But the moment you accept that, you gain something even more valuable: peace. Uncertainty is often seen as something to fear, something to avoid. We crave stability, predictability, control. But the truth is, uncertainty is what makes life beautiful. It is the space where growth happens, where opportunities arise, where the best moments of your life unfold unexpectedly. Imagine standing at the edge of a path that disappears into the mist. You don't know where it leads. You don't know what obstacles or blessings might be waiting ahead. You could hesitate, paralyzed by fear of the unknown. Or you could take a step forward, trusting that whatever comes, you will handle it. That choice, to trust instead of fear, is what sets you free. Think about the most defining moments of your life, the friendships that shaped you, the love that changed you, the lessons that strengthened you. How many of them happened exactly as you planned? Probably none. They emerged from uncertainty, from unexpected turns, from moments you could never have predicted. And yet, they led you here. Stoicism teaches us that instead of resisting uncertainty, we should prepare for it, not by trying to control every outcome, but by strengthening ourselves from within. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." How many times have you spent sleepless nights worrying about something that never even happened? How many opportunities have you hesitated to take because fear of the unknown held you back? The answer is not to eliminate uncertainty, it's to build a mindset that welcomes it. One simple way to do this is to practice best, worst, most likely thinking. Whenever you find yourself anxious about the future, break it down. Ask yourself, what is the best possible outcome? What is the worst that could happen? What is the most likely reality? More often than not, the worst-case scenario isn't nearly as bad as we imagine. And when we acknowledge that, the fear loses its grip. Because we realize that even if things don't go as planned, we will adapt, we will learn, and we will keep moving forward. Imagine you're about to take a leap into something unknown, a career change, a big move, a personal risk. The fear of failure looms over you, but instead of letting it stop you, you prepare. You remind yourself, I've faced uncertainty before, and I survived. I've overcome difficulties and I've grown. Whatever happens, I will handle it. That mindset transforms fear into excitement. It turns hesitation into action. And here's the most powerful truth of all. Uncertainty is what makes life meaningful. If everything was predictable, if we knew exactly how every day would unfold, there would be no adventure, no surprise, no room for transformation. The unknown is not your enemy, it is your greatest opportunity. So, as you stand at the edge of your own unknown, ask yourself, am I going to shrink back in fear? Or am I going to step forward and embrace the journey? The choice is yours. Now take a breath. Let go of the need for control. Trust yourself. Trust that you are strong enough to face whatever comes. And in that trust, find peace. You've now completed this journey through Stoicism, but the real journey is just beginning. These lessons are not meant to be passively absorbed, they are meant to be lived. Over the next 30 days, challenge yourself to practice these principles. Pause before you react. Master your emotions. Think with reason. Spot and overcome biases. See life from a higher perspective. Live by your core values. Seek wisdom. Learn from your past. And most importantly, find comfort in the unknown. Each day is an opportunity to grow stronger, to become wiser, to live with more clarity and purpose. And as you apply these lessons, you will notice something remarkable. Life won't necessarily get easier, but you will get stronger. Problems won't disappear, but your ability to face them will transform. And as your perspective shifts, you will begin to see what the Stoics saw, that peace is not found in the world around you, but within you. So take this wisdom and make it your own. Live it, breathe it, become it. Because the path to a clear, resilient and powerful mind is not something you wait for, it is something you create. And you, right now, are already on your way.